You know, if it's one thing I've learned about covering the gaming industry for the past couple of years, it's that no matter what you say or no matter how you try to approach things, game companies, developers, and/or publishers, they just hate you. They hate you so much that they want to take every red cent out of your pocket and do as little work as possible at the exact same time. Now, I'm not doing a blanket thing where I'm covering every single developer, right? Because some devs are actually really good. Larian, for example, is a great dev, and so many indie devs are going around and showcasing what exactly gaming should be right now. My big beef, however, though, is with the AAA gaming industry and its insistence on trying to go through and use one of the most bloated, horrendous things I've ever witnessed, and that is Unreal Engine 5. Now look, I've had my beef with this engine for quite some time, ever since the actual 360 days, where every 360 game that used Unreal Engine 5 basically made every character look like they were just covered in sweat and or wet all the time. And yeah, sure, sometimes it would look really good, but other times it was just too much, and every game began to look the same. And we're seeing that happen again right now. Every game that uses Unreal Engine 5 has that same UE5 look, that same plasticky, overexposed, overlit, ray traced thing where everything just looks too much. Like it looks as if you're watching a diorama made out of plastic, but not even like a good way. Something that wasn't handcrafted, just machine punched out, and you can see all the actual issues happening all around you. To make matters worse, it's one thing that the games look the same. It's another thing when they all run the same as well. Every time an Unreal Engine 5 game comes out and I do a PC port review on my main channel, it's always a disaster. Shader compilation stutters all over the place, overbloated requirements for games that don't even look that great, and over-reliance on upscaling and frame generation, having to require specific GPUs in order to run the game as well, literally charging the customer and you, the gamer, more money for PC components that you shouldn't be paying for because the developers don't want to optimize their games properly, or the publishers are forcing the devs to put the game out as quickly as possible to make a quick buck. And I've been shouting about this for a very long time. But it looks like over the weekend, one game in particular is catching all the headlines, and that seems to be Lego Batman. Lego DC Game on Twitter says this: "Behold, your PC specs for hashtag Lego Batman game. Bat computer not included." Now, I know what you're thinking, Alex, that's just a PC spec list. Why would you even be angry at that? And what does Lego Batman have to do with any of this? Well, in fact, Lego Batman may in fact be the poster child for a game that looks pretty good, but the requirements are in fact out of control. And when you see what I mean, you're going to find out why. You see, the PC requirements for Lego Batman are in fact pretty absurd. Let's go over them real quick. For the minimum requirements, you need Windows 11, an Intel Core i5-10600K, or a Ryzen 5 1600, 16 gigs of RAM, an NVIDIA GeForce 960 4GB GPU, AMD Radeon 6400 4GB GPU, or an Intel Arc A580, an 8GB GPU. We're going to stop right here real quick. The Intel Arc A580 is 3 times more powerful than these GPUs above it. So I don't understand why they would put that GPU there, even though its performance is going to be infinitely better, having double the VRAM and also just in general overall. What I think they did here was they took the lowest tier of GPU that they can run from each brand and place it as the minimum spec requirements, even though the performance doesn't make any sense at all whatsoever. But it gets worse, folks, trust me. Then the next section says this: low 1080p at 30 FPS with FSR or XeSS balanced and frame generation enabled. Oh yeah, that's right. We are in this space right now. You are no longer getting actual frames or actual optimization in any of your video games whatsoever, besides the insane bloat of having it across every other major game being 150 gigs plus because they want to go through and not compress anything at all with audio files or even textures. Now we're seeing the fact that practically new games are also requiring frame generation, which tells me one thing specifically. Your game is actually running at sub HD levels, and then half the frames aren't even real. They're generated by AI. We are in a brand new low of optimization for PC gaming, and it's all because of Unreal Engine and the insane greed of the gaming industry. But it gets worse though. Check this out. And then you have the settings for 4K, an Intel Core i7-14700K, an AMD Ryzen 7 9700X, 24 gigs of RAM, a GeForce 4070, or a Radeon 9070 XT. 2160p at 60 FPS with DLSS FSR on quality and frame gen enabled. Why is it that right now we're watching the gaming industry being completely incapable of optimizing any game whatsoever? It's actually absurd when you think about it. And the fact that Unreal Engine 5 is so ubiquitous in the gaming space. Practically every game right now uses that engine, mostly because it's easy to pull in contractors to work on that one space as well, and then keep people working there, fire them 18 months later on, and then bring in more people on top of that without having to pay insurance or even any kind of employee benefits. Maybe that could be the reason. So now, because of their own cost-cutting measures in the gaming space for publishers and developers, I have to be the one that suffers. I have to be the one to shell out for better hardware because these devs or these publishers didn't want to actually optimize their game, even though they're starting to charge people more money than ever before, require them to be online, slap on DRM, and everything that makes the experience worse overall. And these same developers and publishers wonder why the AA space and the indie space is literally mopping the floor with them over and over again. When you look at what happened with Expedition 33, I loved that game when I played it, and even on the PC port review, I was incredibly ashamed that Unreal Engine 5 was used. Granted, it'll be the best outcome for that team, but the thing is, the stutters really impacted their performance, and the way it played on lower-end hardware didn't look that great overall. And you know what? You could totally give E33 a pass on that. It's a small development team. They basically never made a game before, and they were all doing it via YouTube tutorial guides. So that kind of makes a lot of sense. When you look at a game from like Warner Brothers, though, or from Lego as well, that used to be incredibly optimized. I mean, hell, back in the day, they used to have split screen at the same time, being able to play Lego games on your PS3 with a super limited amount of memory pool. But we can't do that now because this massive obsession with things like ray tracing, or screen-spaced ambient occlusion, or path tracing, or trying to shove all the glitz, glamour, and light into video games, make everything look oversaturated and bloomed out, all because they want the eye candy to be the first thing people see rather than the actual gameplay. And people are absolutely pissed. Here's Nick Tech on Twitter saying this: Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight optimization doesn't make sense. Batman Arkham Knight was launched in 2015 and was developed on UE3. The game looked nothing short of incredible. The initial PC port was bad, primarily due to Rocksteady's fault for outsourcing to a team of 12 people, but with later updates, Arkham Knight has aged like fine wine, and it still looks just as beautiful today as you can even play it with little to no issue on low-end hardware. Fast forward to 2026, Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight launches in less than a month, albeit not developed by a different game studio, but it's still developed on Unreal Engine 5, and the system requirements, which have just been released, are a disaster. You would think that after all this time, the improvements in Unreal Engine itself and modern tech would allow developers to optimize their games much more efficiently, but it looks like the exact opposite is happening. If you have a low-end GPU and want to run this game at 30 FPS, the developer recommends you turn on frame gen and set the upscaling to mode to balanced. That's 16 to 17 base FPS, which is then doubled with your frame gen and an internal resolution of 847p to achieve 30 FPS. Can you imagine how bad the resulting image latency and overall experience would be? A $600 GPU like the 9070 XT cannot run this game at 60 FPS native 4K if you don't turn on FSR, set to quality, and enable frame gen. The worst part about all of this is that Lego Batman doesn't even look visually more demanding than Arkham Knight. You would think that this game would be easy to run on low-end hardware, but not with a UE5 game. Lego Batman is more demanding than Arkham Knight could ever be. There's something inherently wrong either with how Unreal Engine 5 handles open-world games or how developers are deliberately choosing to skip optimization altogether. I don't know if it's just me, but it truly feels like good optimization has been a lost art for most Unreal Engine titles. And Nick Tech is totally right. I mean, look at all the older games we used to play, and then look how they performed. At least they weren't using frame generation to hit 30 FPS, even on that lower kind of hardware. And the thing is, game optimization has become, in my opinion, a true lost art, just like Nick Tech said. Game developers and publishers are doing everything they can to push out every game as quickly as possible, yet for some reason, these games take 4 to 5 years, maybe even 6 years, run like actual garbage when the game in fact comes out, has no optimization, and then they want to charge you more money for it. Why? Why on earth would anyone spend all that money on a video game that doesn't run the way it's supposed to? Even though visually when you're looking at it, it doesn't look any different from every other Unreal Engine game you've ever played, and things aren't really that visually demanding for what we're seeing right now. Sure, Lego Batman might look good, but forcing things like ray tracing or global illumination or things like nanite, it really isn't the way to go with trying to provide a visual representation of what gamers should actually experience. This to me is why that entire meme of like you need a $3,000 PC to play games that play on console with the same settings always seems to come about. It's really bad optimization and bad ways of developers going around and not providing proper information, relying on crutches, relying on other tech, and actually putting the problem onto you and saying, if you want to play this game, you better spend more money. It's not our problem anymore. Now it's apparently yours. Here's a crap named Heller saying this: man, how can a Lego game be so badly optimized to require DLSS and FrameJet? While posting a picture of Unreal Engine 5 as the engine being used for Lego Batman. Here's Joe from Seattle saying this: Unreal Engine genuinely needs to be kicked out of gaming. What even is this? Remember back in the day, every studio would make their own engine for their own game, and then it would run like a dream, and the game would come out in 2 to 3 years? What do we have now? UE5 engine slop, where every game looks the same, every game runs the same like actual garbage, requires FrameJet and upscaling, and then at the same time, it all has all these major issues, takes even longer to come out, and now they want even more money for the game itself, while providing literally no visual upgrade from what we've seen before, and at the same time requiring you to have better hardware. Halo Campaign Evolved is a perfect example. Even in the actual trailer that they showed for that game, you can see all the massive stutters. You can see the ghosting in all the UI elements. You can see the fact that the game is being upscaled, and you can see the low frame rate drops all over the place. The texture pop-in that is classic for Unreal Engine 5 as well, showing its ugly head. All across the board, every game is using it, yet for some reason, we still have the exact same problems. Lack of optimization, increased bloat in trying to go ahead and require better hardware for games that don't even look as good that require that hardware. Blood of the Dawn Walker is another perfect example, another Unreal Engine 5 game. But look at the ultra settings for this thing. Check this out. Requires a 13600K for Intel, a Ryzen 9 7950X, 16 gigs of RAM, a RTX 5090 GPU with 16 gigs of RAM as well. And then what's funny is the note on the bottom, in fact, saying this: all the above requirements were measured with no upscales and no frame generation. However, a variety of upscalers such as DLSS and FSR will be supported and can be used to improve performance. Optimization for video games is out the window, and anybody thinking that next generation of consoles is going to catch up to this kind of thing is absurdly incorrect. What you're going to be seeing are those exact same unoptimized features being shoved into your games as well, causing you to spend more money on your consoles, yet for some reason still getting bad performance overall. Sure, the reflections might be nicer, sure the lights might flicker a little bit better, but what's that at the cost of? A game that doesn't run well, a game that requires crutches, a game that developers literally do not optimize at all. For the amount of money that you spend, what you're getting isn't even close. UE5 is an actual stain on the gaming industry. It's done nothing but provide worse experiences, worse visuals, and in all aspects, a worse price point for every single gamer. Whether it's on more expensive games, even though they're saving money by using UE5, whether it's games taking longer to develop because of UE5, bad performance, or having to upgrade your PC every single time. Hopefully, with what's been coming around the corner with Valve, though, could surprise a lot of people and stop a lot of the sales of video games that are doing this kind of thing, seeing as how Valve is putting out a requirement checklist of what games will run like on your kind of hardware that you are submitting to Valve as well for actual reviews. No longer having to deal with runs fine on my system. When you realize they spent $6,000 on their PC, you can clearly say, that's not going to run here, and sales will be lost. And I think that's the only way things are going to change. Once these companies see that they're losing sales on the PC platform and on Steam because nobody can run their game and their pocketbook gets impacted, you could see a massive change overall with how things are in fact going. But the problem is, the more people buy these kinds of games, the more developers try to shortchange you every time, the more we're going to be dealing with these issues. My big thing is this: if the game is optimized and it runs well, support that dev, support that game. If it doesn't run well or doesn't run correctly, or they went ahead and bloated the optimization for it, go ahead, send that refund in, or don't even buy it, because clearly they didn't do anything to earn your money. Seeing all this happen right now with games like Lego Batman, Dawn of the Blood Walker, Halo Campaign Evolved, and every other game that uses Unreal Engine 5 basically shows me this one specific thing. Epic Games and UE5 are nothing more than a blister on the backside of the gaming industry. And it's getting worse. Hopefully, there'll be some kind of competition to come out in the space. But for right now, if you see a UE5 game, get ready to hit that refund, because clearly it's not made for you. But you know what? I want to hear what you guys got to say about this in the comments section down below. Are you going to buy Lego Batman? Do you have a problem with UE5 games? Or are you in the same boat with me? I want to hear what you guys got to say. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you guys next time.